You're listening to The Joe Cronin Show, a wrestling podcast with attitude.
All right, so Vince McMahon, has he lost his damn mind? I'm sorry to everybody last night for starting 20 minutes late. I still, like, that type of stuff destroys me, all right? I fell asleep. I fell asleep. Vince McMahon, I believe, this guy's lost his freaking mind. And, you know, I keep giving him the benefit of the doubts. I keep attacking him, then giving him the benefit of the doubt, then wait and see, and then they don't deliver. It happens every single time, and yet we keep doing it. We keep saying, all right, maybe something's going to change. They're going to do something. You know, Vince says this, things are going to change, you're in charge, and you're like, okay, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's never worked out every other time, but maybe he'll do it this time. And then, you know, Becky becomes champion, Dana becomes champion, and he sort of does it literally, like, we gave you what you wanted, but that's not really what people want. How do people don't understand that? And now all the casual people, or all the smarky-ish people, and all the, just everybody who attacks the people who have been attacking the product. Oh, now they're going to complain that Becky and Daniel Bryan, or Becky and Kofi Kingston won the championships. Now they're champions and everyone's complaining. That's because nobody understands what people really want. I understand what people really want. I'm sorry, listen, let me explain this to you. I'm going to make this very clear, and then I'm going to get into what this whole video is about anyway, which is we're going to talk about all the little bits of news and things like that real quick. But it doesn't matter who the champion is or isn't. That doesn't matter. What matters is you give the people entertainment. That's what matters, or you give the people a fun story or a good story and good wrestling matches. All of that has to be rolled into one. The title belt being on somebody doesn't matter. All that matters still are the matches. I want Kofi to win, I think. Okay, cool. He has a great match with Daniel Bryan. He won. But now what? Because this shows you the problem. The problem isn't, oh, you all got what you wanted. Kofi's champion and now you're not happy? Yeah, because they have nowhere to go now. Do you remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin became champion? I don't know if they knew 100% where to go then, right? Because then Vince McMahon really got involved. That's when the Vince and Stone Cold thing, the whole thing really started. And at one point, I remember when, Mick Foley had sort of changed and Dude Love became the opposition for Stone Cold Steve Austin. But that worked, and it was more impressive and more of a storyline. And then they got into the Vince McMahon, who was like the main villain, the main boss. It's nothing like that right now. Kofi Kingston wins, and then what? You know what I mean? I know Daniel Bryan's back now, and I know he's got Owens going on SmackDown. But it's all so discombobulated and weird. I like what they did with Kevin Owens being in the New Day for a second. That was one of the better things they did. That turn Owens did that night was great. But what's the problem? The problem was they followed it up with repetitive bullshit. The idea of him being in New Day was fine. And then the turn was great. And then the next week and the week after, those are the problems. The follow-up is the problem. The initial night when he turned and Kofi was looking at Xavier and then looking up at Owens like damn you son of a bitch, you know what I mean, that type of thing. That whole thing was pretty well done. I liked it enough. But what they did the next week with recapping everything and redoing it again and then redoing it, people want things to move now. And they're moving slower than ever before. They're retelling the story, retelling you again, re-showing you, redoing almost. You can't do that nowadays. You just can't do it because, number one, the old school fans and anybody over 25 or 28, anybody over 28 is like, I've seen all this before. So if it doesn't play out quickly or start moving or go in a different direction than you were expecting, it doesn't work. They're impatient. And then the younger kids are impatient anyway. So they're like, I'm seeing the same thing again. What is this? Whatever. I'm turning this off. I don't think they understand that. But anyway, some of the news that have been talked about on maybe places like WrestlingInc.com and other places like that. WWE fan tweets Vince McMahon on confusing and pointless storylines, and Triple H likes it. This was a big story, and you guys can read this over by Mark Middleton on WrestlingInc.com. And it's true. He liked something and then accidentally, and then he unliked it. Now, it's so stupid because you don't know what he did it for. Triple H could have done it to save it, to show Vince McMahon. Maybe Vince said, bring me what they're saying, or bring me whatever. And maybe Triple H wanted to save it and then bring it to Vince. Maybe Triple H's fucking thumb hit the button by accident. When any one of us are reading something, our thumbs could hit the button by accident. I doubt Triple H was like, let me like this, and then was like, well, I shouldn't do that. You know, and either way, it's so stupid, who cares? I'm sure Triple H is reading a lot of things about a lot of things. You know, and he's choosing what to take in, what to look at and say, what a dumb, Mark idiot, or what to look at and say, wow, this guy's got a point. You know, or like, see, Vince, this is what they're saying. You know, at least I assume Triple H actually like digests it. You know, even if it's ridiculous, right? Even if Triple H is like, well, you're a moron. You know, he still is absorbing stuff. You know, I don't think Vince McMahon absorbs anything. And sometimes that can make you great, right? Because, you know, you're not taking any feedback almost. You're just like, this is what I'm doing. You know, oh, this is what they thought of that? Wow. Oh, whatever. I don't know. It seems like Vince McMahon lives in his own bubble. Last night, he was like on crack cocaine. Many people thought that this was Vince McMahon laying the groundwork for him going crazy, loco, so that, you know, Triple H could take over. But we've already said this. This is now the third time I've thought that myself. Like, okay, maybe they're setting they're sort of setting the stage for Vince to go crazy. Or is it a long burn? Is it a slow burn where they're going to keep doing things like this with Vince so they can go back and say, Vince, you had this, then you had the brands shake up, then they weren't brands, and then there was wild cards, and then Roman was going on the show. It makes no sense why Roman Reigns Superman punched Vince McMahon last week, and this week he shows up on Raw and he's just allowed to be there. All that was a ratings ploy to see what it literally was. A ratings ploy. Like, let me explain this to you guys. This whole thing was to see if the ratings would spike, how the ratings would do if Roman was announced on Raw. That's what it was. They want to find out. That's what this is. I'm legit saying that they want to find out. They said that and did that to see what they could get. Roman advertised it. Everybody advertised it. And then on top of that, they had other superstars coming out. Now, that they were coming out to continue the excitement so that the rating would stay, right? So someone tuning in for Roman, and now all this other stuff's going on, you know, and they're getting all the superstars featured, like, oh, I don't want to miss Raw next week. All these guys could be here. And then Vince announces this wild card thing. It is so convoluted and confusing and repetitive and desperate that I really can't believe it. This is panic mode. This is them panicking and using Raw to literally test numbers. I guarantee it. I guarantee today and tomorrow they're sitting there looking at the numbers to see, what do we have here? And quite frankly, I think they won't have much. I don't know what the numbers are going to be, but I would go out on a limb and say that perhaps the numbers will be better than last week because of this announcement, because of the interest, but only by 150,000 people. Okay? Do you understand that? That this hype of, oh my God, now Roman's coming to Raw and all these other things, that it will only have done 150,000 better or less or almost nothing. And, you know, and I feel like they think that it's going to do more than that. This isn't a story. This isn't a fun storyline. It's announcing names to announce names to create hype over something that will never be paid off anyway. You are continuing to add on to the confusion and convolution of the WWE in Raw and SmackDown. I've been watching wrestling for 30 years. I'm 34. I'm going to be 35 in June. I'm going to be 35. I can't even believe that. I thought by 35 I'd be doing commentary for an NHL team or for the WWE. I thought I would be calling play-by-play for baseball or something by now. Now, I'm not doing that. Here I am on YouTube. But 30 years of wrestling. I have been a referee, And this goes to like Ryback and all these idiots who say, "Oh, well, you know, Joe Cronin." I saw what Ryback had to say the other day about someone asking about him. You know, I wrestled for 2 years in a real setting. You know what I mean? I got trained. I wrestled for a couple years. I was a referee. I've been doing wrestling commentary for off and on for 11 years. I've been a ring announcer. I've set up rings. I've been at shows where they didn't set the ring up right. And I was the ring announcer. And I said, if you do that, there's going to be a problem. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I wouldn't put myself on the booking team. But you guys, I have seen so many better ideas by lots of you guys. And I'm not talking about the people who think they know what they're talking about. Because there's a lot of people out there that think they know, and they put these ideas out, and they're stupid, or they don't understand what the WWE is trying to do in some cases. I get that. I totally get it. A lot of us are overthinking and are overcritical. I do understand that. You're not going to love everything, and you have to take and accept some things. And even if you don't like something, you have to realize why it was done, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. That happens. But what's going on right now is unacceptable. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's really hard to believe. And I can see why everything around Vince is crumbling. I don't understand why he can't see it or why they can't see it. That people are leaving. People want out. People are insubordinate. People are upset. People don't want to sign. People want to leave. People are demanding this match and demanding that. There's chaos in the back. There's leaks coming out of left and right and center. They're having to put fake leaks out everywhere. This is insane. This fucking wall is crumbling. You talk about Game of Thrones? This is Game of Thrones right now in WWE. This is a mess. What must it be like backstage? Guys like Lio Rush, guys like Enzo Amore. This is why these guys aren't here right now. That shows you. These are guys who may be pricks, right? They might be a prick. But they have so much passion, so much individuality, that they're like, this is what I want. This is what I'm doing. Fuck you. This is what's happening. Now, that might have flown when Shawn Michaels was in WWE in 1997, but it doesn't fly now. You're not part of the cog in the wheel. You're not part of the script. Get out of here. Now, Lio Rush, and I get it. You know what I mean? If you step on a line the wrong way, I don't necessarily agree with some of the stuff I've heard about Lio Rush with him, you know what I mean, being kind of disrespectful to guys. And I understand that you may not like carrying a bag or kind of being a bitch boy sometimes because maybe you wrestled for 15 years. Now you're carrying the bag for like somebody who, you know, got trained in NXT for 3 years and now they're in the WWE or whatever it is. I get that. But so many other people have already done it. That's just the way it is. Just do it. It is called wrestling and respect. You give respect. You be humble. You do what you're supposed to do that way, and you make the most of your opportunities. And listen, after 3 to 5 years of doing that, if it's not coming for you, maybe you got to flip out. Even a guy like CM Punk who had success couldn't hold it in any longer. These are people who keep it real. It started with CM Punk. CM Punk keeps it real as fuck. And that's why the guy lost his mind. Now, a lot of guys obviously need to work within the system a little bit. You need to work in the system mostly, and then try to pick your spots. When to say, I don't want to do that, I want to do this. Pick your spots. But so many people can't do that anymore. And it's really unraveling right now. We're starting to see it. Anyway, Vince McMahon announces the new wild card rule. That was ridiculous. This just, like I said, convoluted, confusing, unnecessary, just almost laughable. Almost just completely laughable. Someone says the wild card idea is a great idea. It gives each show an element of surprise and creates different matches. You know what would be an element of surprise? If basically you created a wild card rule where anything could happen that week. You know what I mean? Superstars can come over and not go. You know what I mean? But it will be up to Vince, or it'll be up to Vince. It'll be up to me who is allowed that night. If they want to come on over, if I want to shake something up that night, we might have superstars coming back and forth, but we will still have brands and still have a brand split for most of the roster. But, you know, on any given night, you know, something, you know what I mean, somebody might, whatever the hell, I don't know. But to say 3 people only and 3 this, that's when they get into that trouble, because you know you'll see more than that. Some night you'll see 5 or 6 or 1 or 2. And I guess that's why they chose 3, right? So they could get more. I don't know. So in like backing the truck up a little bit, this guy, it might be a good idea. But here's the problem. The problem is, again, that the week-to-week show sucks. So it doesn't matter who you put on what show. And although it does help, I agree, and it opens them up to be able to do some things, the issue is the show still isn't good. You think by switching like parts back and forth that will help things, that will be the answer. Now, it will help a little bit to keep it less stagnant. That's true. So I get that, and I do like that. But again, the main number one issue is the stories and the show itself. Doesn't matter who you put on the shows. Doesn't matter if you bring in 30 new other guys and bring them on the shows. That's the problem. See, you're addressing problem number 2 or 3, right? The roster being stale. You're addressing, that could be problem number 2 or 3. Problem number 1 are the week-to-week stories. So anyway, they did address a problem. So you got to give them that. Although it being, I believe, convoluted and a bit confusing. Who could be on SmackDown tonight? I don't know. I don't know who's going to appear on SmackDown and what's going to happen. But I hope it's better than what happened on Raw last night, because it was a discombobulated mess, in my opinion. Guys, I will have more later on. And I want to thank everybody who's a patron up there on patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. Guys, you can download the Patreon app. In order to keep me doing this, doing what I'm doing right now, I need patrons and we need support. So I provide 30 hours of bonus content a month on Patreon. I have 6 hours of content already in the can that's going to be uploaded this week, including my morning podcasts, my Endgame recap, talking about Game of Thrones as well. Me and Leah's, my wife's podcast, Corrupted podcast will be up this weekend. The other ones are up. Think about becoming a patron, patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. Not only do you keep my show on the air and keep me doing these videos and everything I do, but you also get 30 hours of bonus content you can't hear on YouTube. So we also have producers, people that want to be at the $25 mark and above. Now, you can be a patron for $1, $2, $3, $5. There's some VIPs at $10. But then there's a core of people that are at $25 or above. And I just wanted to shout out those producers right now. And I'm still sick, so I'm dying right now. But I want to say thank you to Matt Moon, Darel Stultz, Justin McNeil, Gary Metzler, Mikey Two Crikey, Mike Gwaz, TJ, Andrew Ryan, Arknolia Strokelbean, JayyMenAce, Gerald Armstrong, JRFord III, NickY J, Jabroni Jabber Podcast. Check them out on YouTube. Frog Kid, Trey Hendrickson, Ryan Pelletier, Big Matt, and Jason Tarr, Coop the Comedian, and The Bear 1322, Brokenlion, and StarSCREAM. And I believe that's everybody who made the list this week, this month. If you haven't checked your Patreon, double check it, guys, to make sure you're active. A lot of people said they weren't getting their patron alerts from my podcast a couple days ago. Several people checked, and they realized that that's because they weren't a patron anymore, and they had to re-up. So make sure you guys re-up if you like. I'll see you guys tonight. Hopefully I won't fall asleep tonight for the SmackDown review right after SmackDown goes off the air. Here's some other videos you guys might have missed. And if you want to check out Patreon, that will pop up on the top right. And all these things popping up on your screen now. Continue watching if you like. My name's Joe Cronin. If you need to get a hold of me on Twitter, at CorruptedPod on Twitter. All my links are in the description box down below. Expand the description for my Facebook page and all my pages and whatever else. See you tonight.